Hello, in this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to create assignments and quizzes using all the settings. So we're going to go ahead and enter one of our courses here. We're going to go ahead and do Business Office Administration 110, and I'm going to scroll down to an assignment. I'm going to start with the quiz because they're the most tricky. There's lots of cool settings on the quiz. Okay, so the first thing you do anytime you want to make any kind of edits is you have to turn your editing on. So you do that with that little setting gear up here. Once you turn the editing gear on, you have lots of options here. So let's go down to the first quiz right here, quiz 1. You can see that it's hidden from students. That's okay. We're going to go ahead and go to edit settings. Okay, the first setting is the name. So you always want to kind of give it a good naming convention. If you just call it weekly quiz, then in gradebook it'll say weekly quiz, however many weeks you have, and it's uncertain which weekly quiz. Okay, the timing feature allows you to open and close the quiz at a certain date and at a certain time. The way that the timing works, first you have to enable it, then it opens up that you can change these features. You can change them directly in here, or you can go ahead and go into the calendar. When you're using the clock setting, you'll want to make sure that it is 0 to the 24. So if you're 1 o'clock, it's going to be a 1300. And if you want to close your assignment a week later, so a week later from the 12th would be the 19th. And you want to close it at, let's just say 6 o'clock. So at 6 o'clock, we know it's going to be 1800 hours. Okay, and you can also change the minutes here. Okay, you can also set a time limit so that anytime they open this quiz for that week, they only get 30 minutes to take the test, or however many minutes you want. They can have a few hours. They can have whatever. Best practices, it's about a minute to a minute and a half per question. So if it's a 20-minute assessment, I think 20 to 25 minutes is fine. That's about standard. Okay. If you don't want it timed, then you can just unclick the enable. Okay. The next thing I want to show you is the grade feature. And of course, in grade category, you're telling the computer it's a weighted grade book. So you want to tell it where it's going to be weighted, and we know it's a quiz. Well, this quiz is worth 100 points, so I'm going to make the passing grade an 80. And all this means is that when it appears in the grade book, any students who have an 80 or above, it'll turn in green ink, a green color, and anybody between lower than 79 or lower will be a red color in the grade book. Attempts allowed, best practice is one attempt. However, if you are offering more than one attempt, then you would just go ahead and do 2 to however many. If you do more than one, you have to tell the computer how do you want it graded. Do you want an average of the 2? Or do you want to only grade the first attempt? Or do you want to grade the last attempt? Okay, or the highest grade, no matter how many times they take it. So you have to choose one of these. I'm going to go ahead and just leave it at 1. Layout, there's 2 things with layout. The first thing is this one. You want every question on every page. That's the best way to take a test. But additionally, you want to allow the student, if you want to allow the students to go from question 1 to question 6 to question 2 to question 10 and flip around the quiz, then you want it on free navigation. However, if you want them to go sequentially, because maybe there's answers, throughout the test, then you need to put it on sequential and they can't jump around. Question behavior, this is an important feature. This is the answers. So you really don't want the answers shuffled. You can shuffle the questions, and that's when you set up the test or the quiz. But this is for questions like all of the above, none of the above, or both A and C. You don't want that to appear as choice A or B, because it doesn't make sense. So you want to turn this to no. Deferred feedback, this is what you want. You want students to get deferred feedback. That means they get to take the test first, then they receive their feedback. How they receive their feedback is up to you. So here's the review options. During the attempt, if you want them to see immediately, this is where you would click it, but in order to even see those, you have to change this to immediate feedback, and then you'll be able to choose those. We're going to go ahead and do it after the attempt. This is set up correctly. You want them to be able to see the attempt, what their score is, and if you gave them any overall feedback. later, so after they finish the test, they go do something, but the test is still open for a week, can they go back? Yes, but they can look at the attempt, they can look at their grade, and they can look at their overall. After you close the test, after that date has passed, are they allowed to see everything? They can see if they got it wrong or right. They can see their specific feedback. They can see the right answer. Then you want to select these. In order for this box to open up for you, you must have a close the quiz date up here. If you don't have a close the quiz date, so let's take it off, you'll notice that you can't do anything over here. It won't allow me to. Okay. All right. Parents, you don't need to worry about this. Is if you want to see their image while they're taking the test, then you would choose small or large. Extra restrictions. This is an important one because the extra restrictions are things like this. Your whole class took the test, but 2 people got kicked out or locked out or weren't able to get on for whatever reason, and you want to reopen it. You can reopen it, but then require a password so that nobody else can reopen it. So you tell those 2 or 3 students, okay, you can get in, but you need to put a password in, give them the password, and then those 2 to 3 students can go in and take the test and nobody else can, okay? Because you have to go back up here and unlock it for those students, right? Okay, additionally, another restriction you can put on, I'm in that same area, you can click on where it says browser security, and you want to click on where it says full screen pop-up with some JavaScript security. What that means is now their test is going to open up and it's going to take up the entire window so that they cannot click on or toggle onto anything else and search for any answers. Those are the most important features that I wanted to show you today. These are fun. There's some fun things you can do here. You can write feedback for people who get 100%. You can write feedback for people who get, 80 to 89%, etc. Restrict access, you can say no, they can only get into it if you on a certain date or if they have a certain grade, if they're only a student. So there's lots of little things that you can go in and play with. Remember, we have a sandbox that you can go in and explore these things. Okay, that is how you set up settings for a quiz or a test. A homework assignment or a lab assignment is very similar and a lot easier. So I'm going to do that one next. Let's just go into a homework assignment. Go in the same way, edit settings, come on in, make sure that you have your title, and like I said, be as specific as you can. Make sure you have a description of what you want them to do. If you need to upload a document, you can upload it right here using the little file feature and choose a file. Upload it for the students to read, or maybe it's a rubric you've assigned so you can see how you're going to grade it. If you don't mind them writing in the submission box, go ahead and click online. If you want them to upload a document, then you want to do file submissions. If you choose the online box, then you can enable a max word count, and you can say, I only want them to write 500 words or fewer. So then, you can set that standard. If you choose to have a file submission, on the other hand, you can allow them to submit as many files as they want. Now remember, the more files they submit, the more you have to open. So you might want to keep it to just one submission. Your site upload limit is 800 megabytes. If you don't need that much, you can go down. It's really up to you. You can also choose what kind of files you'll accept. So for example, I only accept document files because it's easier for me just to have a Word document. So I just tell them exactly what kind of document I want, and then I save it. And so then their computer will only allow them to upload the Word documents. Feedback types, this is basically just how do you want to do feedback. I like this feature. You can do feedback comments exactly in line on that student's document. That's a really nice feature for English teachers or humanity teachers where you're grading so many papers and you don't have to keep downloading it and uploading it again. Submission settings, this is at the end. After I've uploaded my work as a student, do I have to submit the submit button? Yes, you submitted it. And then this is a statement that says the work is my own. I didn't plagiarize, I didn't copy. Down here, you've got group submission settings. You're going to change this if you have students submitting. Let's say I put my class in 3 groups and each group is going to submit a PowerPoint presentation. I don't want to open 30 PowerPoints. I just want to open 3. So I would say yes, put it in group setting. And now I'm going to say yes, the group submits, but I do not want everybody to submit. And then I'm going to go ahead and when those grades come in, everybody who's listed in group 1 will get the same grade, group 2, group 3. Remember, you can always go in and edit the grades afterwards as well. Notifications are really fun. Notifications come up here to this little bell, and that would be you want to notify graders about submissions. Yay, your work has been submitted. About late submissions. Well, you uploaded your work, but it was late. And default for notify students is always yes, because the more communication, the better. We already talked about the grade. Remember, you have to choose the category, and if you want, you can choose a passing grade. Blind marking, you don't really want that on unless you're grading something and you really don't know, you don't want to know which student wrote it. So what'll happen is the work will come up and you score it just blindly. You don't know whose is whose, but the computer does. So at the end, you can go in and look at the grades. Okay, I hope this was helpful. At the end of everything, you always save and return to course. Okay, have a great one.